I don't have enough mana.
Yo yo, Trump here. And it happened. It finally happened. Yesterday, patch 1.0.0.5314 went live, and Unleash the Hounds got changed from 2 to 3 mana. So how big a deal is this? It's a huge deal. There's been some remarks of, it won't matter at all, the underlying fundamental principle is what's broken. You can still play Buzzard, Unleash, draw a bunch of cards, play the Hyena, run all your Unleash the Hounds after playing a Timberwolf. Each dog does 2 damage, buffs your Hyena. It's ridiculous, it's crazy. But, you know what? That's part of the loveliness of playing a hunter. I happen to like how the cards work together and synergize like that. It's a defining characteristic of hunter, and it's nice how their cards work together like that. It's simply changing from 2 to 3 mana is a big deal, even though it's just a 1 mana increase. Another way of looking at it is it's a 50% increase. Instead of just talking about how big a deal or whatnot though, perhaps a better way to look at it is specific circumstances. Take the Hunter versus Zoo matchup for example. I played Zoo for quite some time, and from the Zoo perspective I just started realizing if they've got the combo, there's nothing I can do. So turn 1 I'd play Guy, turn 2 I'd play Guy, turn 3 I'd play Guy, and then on their 4 mana turn, whether they're going second and have 3 mana in the coin, or whether they're going first and get to 4 mana while I have 3 mana, I would inevitably have something like 3 guys out. And then I would just be like, oh, please, please, please don't have Buzzard Unleash. And most of the time they wouldn't, but some of the time they would have that specific 2-card combo. They'd play the Buzzard, they'd play the Unleash on their 4 mana turn. They'd probably kill usually 2 out of my 3 guys, sometimes 3 out of 3, but most importantly they would draw their 3 cards, and then that turn 4, happens to be the turning point, was the turning point for most Warlock versus Hunter matches. If they had it, the Hunter would be in quite good shape. If they didn't, the Warlock would usually run them over. With Unleash the Hounds changing up 1 mana, you can't do that on turn 4 anymore, or turn 3 if you're going second. You have to do that on 5 mana. So let's just say it's 3 guys with 2, 3, and 3 attack. That means basically the Hunter takes an extra 8 points of damage. Oversimplification, but that's essentially what happens. So that's a big deal. Not only that, the Warlock pretty much gets the opportunity to play an extra card as well, which doesn't mean that the Hunter might draw another card, but the Warlock actually gets the choice of, do I want to continue this all-out aggression? Whereas before, the combo came out so fast, the Warlock often had to just be, I'm just going to play out all this stuff, if they have it, whatever, they have it. Other specific scenarios are, say it's Hunter versus Shaman. I played Shaman quite a while. You might be seeing its free-to-play run right now. Oftentimes as Shaman, you go turn 2 Totem, turn 3 Feral Spirit. That's a pretty good opening. Unless your opponent has, on 4 mana, Buzzard, Unleash the Hounds. Then they draw 3 cards for your 3 guys, and then they might be able to kill one of your Feral Spirits, maybe both. So delaying that 1 turn really helps because it lets the non-hunter player solidify their board position, and it lets them make the choice of whether or not they actually want to put more guys out. So you get to control your fate a bit more rather than just saying, if it comes, it comes. So is the change justified? Blizzard has the stats. I'm sure if the Hunter was having too high a win percentage, then the change is justified. And also, it's just been one of the cards that has gotten the most outcry as a bit unfun. Similar to how Pyroblast got its mana cost increased and Mind Control got its mana cost increased in the past. It's nice because it weakens the early play of Unleash the Hounds, but keeps it the same at the end game. And like I've said, I do enjoy the joy of unleashing your Hounds of Doom on the opponent while drawing cards and buffing your hyena. I do like that big play that you can make. So what's a hunter to do with this change? I actually think quite practically, do nothing about it. There's going to be a lot of hunters who panic and see that their Unleash the Hounds card is the card that they've relied on as the Imba card. It's gotten worse. And yes, it has gotten worse. It's fine, but there will be an overreaction to it, and a lot of hunters will jump ship to another class. So what else will change as a result? Well, one of the decks that has recently risen to fame, Miracle Rogue, rose in part because it had a very good matchup against Hunter, while still holding a pretty good matchup against most everything else. The reason why the Rogue matchup against the Hunter was so good for the Rogue is because they often would not have enough minions so that Unleash the Hounds would be pretty weak. They'd usually have 1 minion tops, and oftentimes the Miracle Rogue would have 0 minions out, so the Unleash the Hounds basically was a blank card. Another deck that used to be popular was the Shaman deck. Used to enjoy a fair amount of popularity, but because of Unleash the Hounds and the way that the Shaman totems work, you often were paying 2 mana for a totem, which might actually hurt your board position because you didn't want to have a 0/2 on the board to attract another doggy from Unleash the Hounds. Same goes for Paladin. You didn't really want a 1/1, and you still don't want a 1/1, but now it's slightly less bad because you can afford to do that turn 2 totem or turn 2 Paladin recruit and not feel so bad because that Unleash combo isn't coming on turn 4 anymore. At earliest it's coming turn 5, and if they want the extra benefit of the Timberwolf, at earliest turn 6, well, when you have 6 mana. The decreased popularity of Hunter, which will be one of these knee-jerk reactions to, oh my gosh, my precious Unleash the Hounds card got nerfed, is that those decks which were weak to Unleash the Hounds, the Shaman, the Paladin, and the Warlock class, the Handlock in particular, those decks no longer have one of its greatest predators out there, and they may return, which is good because Paladin has been very underrepresented, and Shaman also fairly underrepresented just because of how prevalent the Hunter was. The Miracle Rogue, on the other hand, with their prey diminishing, that deck will win less just because there are less Hunters, which is a favorable matchup for this Miracle Rogue. So it's interesting to note that just this one small looking change, I mean, the card still keeps its functionality and its purpose, but increasing it by 1 mana has a gigantic impact. Not just for Hunters itself, but for the entire metagame. Well, that is a lot to say about Unleash the Hounds, but that's the beauty of this game. There's so much nuance to it that one card getting a 1 mana increase will change everything. So get cracking, try to stay 1 step ahead of the metagame. Good luck. Oh no! My Unleash the Hounds, it costs 1 more.